What's up, world? It's your girl, Red Remedy, and you are now tuned into Popparotz TV. I have a very exclusive, legendary guest with me right now, Mr. Glenn Swan. How's it going?
Good. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us today. I know you're busy and you could be doing anything, but you decided to be here with us, and that's very honorable. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it. You have 25 years of experience. You're from New Orleans, and that played a major role in your music career, and you started so young. So can you talk about like how you started and how you knew that you wanted to do music at such a young age?
Growing up, my dad was always playing jazz records in the house. We don't really have a TV. I mean, we did, but never watched it. And so there was always music being played in the house. So at a very young age, I was always playing the records and listening to them. And I had a love for music, and my dad worked in the music business, so our house was full of guitars.
Wow.
And he played and sang all the time, and that's where that influence came in.
Right.
And then in his career, he would take me to concerts, and we'd get to go backstage, and I'd get to meet the artist as a little boy and get to watch them perform the concert with my elbows resting on the stage.
Nice.
And it's really interesting because when I first started, I picked up trumpet in 6th grade, and then after that jumped to saxophone the same year. And then my dad took me to a concert to see the rock band Rush.
Wow.
And I remember just sitting there with my elbows on the stage watching the guitar player in the Coliseum, and he was just wailing away, and it was like I was in such awe, and I left that place knowing exactly what I wanted to do for life, which was play music.
Wow.
And then after that, I got very serious about playing the guitar, and my dad got me a good teacher. And then no time, he hooked me up with Ellis Marcellus, who was Wynton Marcellus's dad.
Nice.
And he's one of the most revered musicians in jazz music, and I started studying music with him. I was the guitar player, Harry Connick Jr., who has the Harry television show. He was the piano player, and then my best friend at the time, Reginald Veal, he's a bass player. He's very famous now. And all we did was play gigs and study really hard and learn, and it was a real blessing to be a part of it. And imagine being, 15 years old, 16 years old, and playing gigs every night, and that's all we did was play, and we played like really awesome music, like hard jazz and really great stuff, and it required a certain level of expertise to do that, and we were all very serious musicians, and I knew that's all I wanted to do, so I focused on that. And part of it was wanting to be famous like everybody, but I didn't want to be famous for the sake of being famous. I wanted to be famous because I was great. Right. And you can only achieve that through hard work, obviously.
Right, exactly. Definitely, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
But you talked about, getting those gigs and, working hard. Is there anything that you wish you knew then that you know now that you would have, appreciated knowing at such a young age, having that responsibility, doing gigs, earning money? Like, what would you have done differently?
That is a super great question, and the answer is very easy to say. It's that if I know what I know now, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I would make more of an effort to be more self-promoting. Right. Like when you're younger, you always feel like you're waiting to be discovered. Like you always hear young people talking about, I want to get signed, I want to get signed and stuff. But what are you doing proactively to make that happen? No one's just going to discover you. You have to make yourself known. That's the beauty of social media today, because that didn't exist when I was a kid. Exactly. You couldn't be on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and SoundCloud, and Reverb Nation, and iTunes. You couldn't do all that stuff back then.
Definitely. Definitely, that's great advice. So make sure you promote yourself, get out there, be active. You mentioned that you got the honor of studying with Marcellus. What are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned under his teaching?
I would have to say that my greatest lesson is that he had an extraordinary level of patience and love for teaching that translated to his students. And that's why most of his students, pretty much all of them that I can name, have gone on to great success. Wow. And but he was a no-nonsense teacher. He didn't tolerate you screwing around and not learning the material. and he taught on a very high level, and he expected you to appreciate that and show it through your actions by developing as quickly as possible, so to speak.
Wow, very interesting. And you have a ton of instruments that you're able to play. You mentioned the guitar, you know how to play the piano. How do you manage to know all of the different notes, the different harmonies, and really kind of getting in deep into those sounds?
Great question again. It's really about education.
Okay.
The reason why someone can jump from one instrument to another is that if you've really studied music, it doesn't matter what the instrument is, the music is the same.
Right.
The same harmony, the same chords, the same melodies or whatever go into the same harmony. I know I'm confusing people, but people who have studied music can understand that. And so if you already know your harmony, the only thing that you have to accomplish when you move to a new instrument is the physical application of playing it.
Okay.
But the music is the same.
Right.
The chords you'll play on the piano, the chord progressions, 1, 4, 5, you go to the guitar, and once you learn the fingerings, you play the same type of progressions and do the same type of harmony. And it allows you to jump from any instrument. Like if I wanted to, I could learn a dulcimer, or I could learn another saxophone, and I would only need to be taught mostly the physical application of playing it. But the knowing how to solo and play over a set of chord changes and stuff, that's already built into me because of my education.
Right. And education is so important. Do you find that people still have those opportunities that you had to learn and educate themselves, or learn about the music, the chords, and all these different instruments?
Well, the sad thing is that I'm around all the up-and-coming producers that are famous, and I see a lot of these people today, and 99.9% of them are masters of the technology. Right. So they know the machines, the editing, and all that stuff, but they don't know a damn thing about music, and they don't really even care to learn it. Right. And that bothers the hell out of me, because true greatness has to have a foundation. Right, exactly. So whatever it is you're doing, whether it's art or acting, if you don't study the masters, what the hell are you? Right. And so the young people today take the education element of learning the actual music for granted, and they don't give a damn. They don't care about it. It's not to say that what they make doesn't sound good, because at the end of the day, it really is about sound, not about theory and harmony. Right. So guys make these little snippets by creating a collage of sounds, and then they stack that up into something that sounds cool, and then they just loop that for 4 minutes. But what pisses me off is that the segment is the music is really 5 seconds. Right. And once they built that little 5-second snippet, the whole record is done. Wow. And that 5-second snippet has no real foundation of substance in music. Wow. It's all, 2-chord bullshit, for lack of a better word. And all of you producers are capable of so much more than that, because you've already got your creative element, which your art is great. Why not take it to a whole nother level and separate yourself from the pack by learning the music part of it? Like I, as a producer, and I'm a great producer, and the reason why is not because of who I am, but because I studied and I did the work, and I have the knowledge and the experience. And I went to Berklee College of Music. As soon as I got there, my Mr. Marcellus was talking in my head. You have to seek out the best and make an effort to learn from them. He always said to me, the difference between the goods and the greats is the geniuses pay attention to the details. And how the hell do you know what the details are if you haven't studied with somebody who has a high-level skill set? So when I got to Berklee, I started asking right away, who is the dopest producer, musical arranger in the whole school? And I wanted to know, and I found out right away in the first week it was a guy named Michael Burrell. Wow. And so I sought him out right away, walked into a jam session where he had a group of musicians playing his charts. And I'm telling you, from the first note, I knew I was in the right place, because that dude was incredible. Oh, that's exciting. And so I kind of stuck to him, and I learned a great deal from him while I was in the school. At that point, I couldn't really play piano, but piano is the principal instrument for arranging.
Right.
So he made me focus on the piano,
Nice.
because the beauty of the piano is all the notes are laid out straight up and down,
Right.
top to bottom.
Right.
On guitar, they're all scrambled
Right.
on the neck. So the visualization in your head gets built quickly, and now you're not only hearing the music, but you're seeing it, because the piano allows you to see the notes like
Right.
this, and you apply that stuff. So I started studying with Michael and working with him and learning from him, and boy, did I develop tremendously. And I learned about part writing and how to write for horns
Right.
and strings, and how to build an orchestration with a whole group of musicians. And when I was in New Orleans, I learned the science part of the music
Right.
and the performing part of it. But when I got to Berkeley, that's when I really blossomed into the ear part of it,
Right.
the ear training part of it, and then learning how to really write and produce stuff on a high level. And one of the most important things that young people take for granted today is that they don't care to look back at the masters, like I
Right.
was saying.
Right.
Like, if you want to be a great producer, you should really take the time to learn about, Charles Stepney. You should learn about Maurice White. He was the producer behind all that great music from Earth, Wind, and
Right.
Fire. Norman Whitfield,
Right.
Car Wash, and all
Right.
those great records.
Right.
When You Wish Upon a Star, those
Right.
are breathtaking
Right.
productions.
Right.
That's his stuff. And then Leon Silvers, who was like glorious, who wrote all those great records for Shalimar, and all
Right.
these records you would know well. And then, it progressed into people like with Quincy Jones, and then, of course, Teddy Riley, who I worked with a few times in Unique Studios, was tremendous. And, of course, Timbaland, who
Right.
used to work with Jodeci while I was working with Jodeci
Right.
before he was famous.
Right.
And these people took the time to learn from the people
Right.
they made an effort to get access
Right.
to.